May it please the court.
Yes, sir.
Now that I can finally talk to you about why we need the facts, about why we need you to serve justice. Members of the jury, neglecting safety makes tragedy happen. Georgia Garcia knew that taking the handrails off the sides of the stairs was risky. Georgia Garcia knew that having people walk up and down the stairs for over 2 weeks without any handrails was dangerous. She knew that eventually someone would get hurt. She knew these things were risky. She knew they were dangerous. She did them anyways. But before we talk about how Georgia's attitude, behaviors, and choices all combined to permanently injure Michelle Chea and steal years from her life, we're going to first discuss what property owners do to safely maintain their property, what the rules are, and why they matter, what happens when they break the rules. That way, we're all on the same page. Then, we'll get into the details of this case, okay? Every property owner that owns property that's open to the public knows that safety of their guests is their top priority. That when a safety feature on their property is broken and dangerous, such as broken handrails on the sides of stairs, they fix that danger as soon as possible in order to keep the guests safe. That when there's something dangerous on their property, such as broken and loose tiles on stairs, they prevent their guests from walking on the stairs until the stairs can be made safe. Because when someone slips and falls and hurts themselves, it's never enough to say, well, we didn't know we had to fix a handrail right away and fix the stairs. You know, we told people to be careful, to walk real slowly down the middle. Because someone walking up and down those stairs at some point inevitably will need to hold on to the handrail to help keep their balance.
Objection argument.
At this trial, the evidence is going to show you that the reasons of the people, the legislators that made the building and safety codes, they require handrails to be on stairs at all times. Because the people that made the building and safety codes, the evidence will show, realize that handrails serve 3 important functions. 1, they help people balance themselves when walking up and down the stairs. 2, if someone's on the stairs and loses their balance, it helps people catch their balance. And 3, most importantly, they keep people from going over the edge of the stairs. That's why the building and safety codes require that stairs have handrails at all times and be slip resistant. And if something happens and the handrails break and they have to be replaced, then at a minimum, temporary handrails are required to go up. When property owners follow these rules and regulations, everyone wins. Businesses stay open, landlords collect rent, and most importantly, people can come onto their property without the fear of being harmed. And everyone makes it home safe, which is a good thing. But some property owners say, well, we didn't know we had to fix the handrails right away. I mean, you know how much stuff we have going on? You know, we told people that they're just gonna have to be careful and wait till we can get around to fix it. They also say, well, if our stairs are broken and damaged and the handrails are missing, it should be obvious to people that they're dangerous, and if someone gets hurt using those stairs, well, that's their fault. They should have been more careful. Finally, they say, well, you know, even if someone does fall on our stairs and they get hurt, I mean, the fall's most likely not going to kill them, so they'll get better eventually. It's not that big of a deal.
Objection argumentative, Your Honor.
Sustained.
With attitudes, behaviors, and choices like these, people get hurt. Sometimes it's a bump or a bruise. Sometimes it's a cut or a scrape. And sometimes, like in this case, it's a permanent injury which requires multiple surgeries, which is exactly what happened here. Let's get into the details for what happened in this case. Georgia Garcia is a trustee for the trust of Georgia Garcia and Osvaldo Garcia. Now, you heard yesterday she's not going to be present at trial. However, when I refer to her as Georgia, that's just a shorter way of me saying sort of the trust of Georgia Garcia and Osvaldo Garcia. So I want everyone to be clear who I'm referring to. Beatrice Garcia is Dr. Beatrice Garcia is Georgia's daughter. And I may refer to her sometimes as doctor or to Beatrice. So when I use those words, I want everyone to be clear who I'm referring to that instance. Georgia Garcia is the trustee of the trust. And since she's a trustee, this means she's legally responsible for maintaining the trust's assets. Things like paying property taxes, more importantly, fixing things when they break, and repairing dangerous conditions on the property. In fact, you're even going to hear testimony from Georgia at this trial admit, everything that happened here, I was the one responsible. Everything that had to be fixed, I would do it always. I was the one who would give instructions as to who was supposed to fix it. I was the one responsible for making sure the outside areas of the building were kept in a safe condition. You'll hear all that. The trust owns a piece of property right here in the city of Miami, which is located on the corner of an intersection. And on the property, there's a parking lot on the corner, which has a chain link fence around it. And behind the property, there is a building where a handyman named Fernando lives. And sometimes he does repair, or Ramondo, sometimes he does repairs for Georgia on the property, working as a handyman. Next to the parking lot, there's an office building, which is elevated off the ground. And since it's elevated, like many office buildings, there's a staircase leading up to the front door. And the stairs, they have handrails on both sides. And like you see in a lot of outdoor staircases, there's red ceramic tiles that covers the stairs. The office is being used by Dr. Beatrice Garcia, the inside of the office space, for free. Now, this is not a formal landlord-tenant agreement. This is simply a mother using the space for free, that her daughter using the space for free that her mother owns. There's no formal agreement in place. It's simply George is doing it out of the kindness of her heart. Come back with me to 2011, December 31st. New Year's Eve, the Garcias get a phone call. Miss Garcia, hey, it's your neighbor. Look, I have really bad news. There was a car accident out front of your building. Someone flew off the road and crashed into the front of your stairs. They're really bad. You know, I know it's a holiday, but you probably want to get, if you're going to open your office back up after the holiday, you probably want to fix this right away. It doesn't look good at all. So Georgia sends Beatrice down to the property to go see it herself, and Beatrice gets there. And what she notices, that chain link fence around the parking lot is completely knocked over, and the stairs out front of the office are demolished. The handrails are all bent and mangled, and all the tiles on the stairs are all cracked and loosened. So Georgia takes photos of it, goes back, and shows Beatrice, the property owner, and Georgia says to Beatrice, Mom, the stairs are really bad. You're going to have to go ahead and fix this. It's a holiday, but I have patients coming in this Tuesday after the holiday, and I've had appointments for weeks. You have to fix this. Georgia says, no, Beatrice. Right now, don't touch anything. Call Julie, the property damage estimator, and don't touch anything. We're going to wait. So Beatrice isn't happy with this, but George is the boss. So that next Tuesday, after the holiday, the office opens back up. Michelle Chea is an employee for Dr. Beatrice Garcia. She's her medical assistant. But Michelle has been working in the office building for several years. She started working for Georgia and knows Georgia very well. So Michelle parks her car, walks to the front of the building, and sees the demolished stairs with the bent handrail. And she's thinking, wow. So she grabs the bent handrail, being very careful not to step on any of the broken or loose tile or any of the little concrete debris. And as she's walking up the broken stairs, she's thinking, you've got to be kidding me. They're going to have patients walk up this? So she gets inside and she finds her boss and she says, Dr. Garcia, the stairs are dangerous. They need to be fixed. Someone's going to get hurt. And Dr. Garcia says, Michelle, I know. I already talked to my mom about it. I tried to ask her to fix it, but my mom just wants to wait right now. And she's the boss. I can't do anything about it. Well, can we at least open up the gate on the side? I know you never opened it, but can we make an exception and open up the gate on the side to let people go around? No, Michelle, you know that gate has to remain locked. And also there's a dumpster in front of it. Look, right now, you're going to have to use the stairs and be very careful, and everyone's just going to have to wait until my mom can fix it. So the office stays open that first week. Patients and family members continue to use the broken stairs. And even though Beatrice is seeing patients, Beatrice isn't happy about this. So after a few more days, she goes back to her mom, and Beatrice says to Georgia, Mom, the stairs are dangerous. You need to fix them. Someone's going to get hurt. And Georgia says, No, Beatrice, I already told you. Right now, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait for Julie. Look, if you want, have Armando next door take down the handrails and remove any of the loose broken tiles he sees for now. Beatrice isn't happy about this, but George is the boss. So that second week, Michelle shows up to work, and she notices two things that really stick out. One, the parking lot fence that was knocked over is completely repaired and it's up now. However, the handrail on the stairs, the bent handrail, is completely removed, and a lot of the broken tile is pushed to the edge of the stairs. So Michelle, once again, carefully walks up the stairs, trying not to step on any of the broken or loose tile, and she's thinking to herself, you have got to be kidding me. These people fixed the parking lot fence just 10 feet away? They don't have enough sense to fix the stairs where patients and people are going to be walking?
Objection argument.
Sustained.
So that week goes by, people continue to use the stairs, and Beatrice gets to the point where she's had enough. And Beatrice goes back to Georgia and says, Mom, you need to fix the stairs. They are dangerous, someone's gonna get hurt. If you don't have Julie, if Julie doesn't come by this Sunday, I'm gonna go ahead and have someone else go ahead and make the repair. And Beatrice, once again, says, right now, we're just gonna wait. January 16th, 2012, 17 days after the car accident destroyed the stairs. Michelle gets to work early that day. Remember that number, 17 days, it will come back. She gets to work early that day, her shift begins at 10. It's about 9:15. She goes inside, gets situated, puts her stuff down. Since she has a few minutes before her shift begins, she decides she's gonna go across the street to get some coffee, like she does often. So when she opens the front door of the office, Beatrice is standing on the top stair talking down below to Fernando, the repairman. So Michelle says, excuse me, steps out onto the top step, closes the door behind her. Now she steps down with her left foot on the second step, and as she's going to place her foot down on the third step, her right foot, there's like a little piece of like tile debris or concrete debris from the accident. And when she places her foot down, it kind of slips under her foot, causing her leg to turn, and she immediately loses her balance. Instinctually, she goes to reach out for the handrail, but the handrail's now been removed. And Michelle goes over the edge of the stairs. She lands on the ground, and her leg snaps in half, which she'll tell you was the most excruciating pain she's ever felt in her life. She immediately begins sobbing and crying. Fernando, the handyman, runs over and grabs her hand and starts trying to console her. Beatrice calls Georgia, the property owner, to tell her someone got hurt on the stairs, just like we said. Eventually, the paramedics arrive. Michelle's in so much pain, her foot's sticking out to the side, so she can't stand. So they immediately give her a morphine shot. They try to brace her leg. It's not working, so they have to load her onto the stretcher. They give her a second morphine shot because she's in so much pain. And they eventually rush her to the hospital. And luckily at the hospital, Dr. Amaya, a good surgeon, happens to be there, and he determines in order to save, because Michelle's leg will never heal like this, in order to save Michelle's leg and give her a chance to walk again, he's gonna have to perform emergency surgery the following day, which she was in the hospital after the surgery for 17 days. So, what does the trust have to say about this? Well, the trust, you heard him say it yesterday, the trust says it's not our fault. We told people to be careful when using the stairs, and we were making arrangements. Now, we recognize that we chose to fix the fence here instead of fixing the stairs. We recognize that. We also recognize that the handyman that could have done the repair the whole time lived right next door. We recognize that too. But still, this is not our fault. We told people to be careful, and it's not our fault. So, because of these claims that the trust made that they were making arrangements to fix the stairs eventually, and they didn't know they had to repair the handrail right away, we went ahead and we consulted with Gene Farmer, who's an architect and an expert on building safety. And we asked Mr. Farmer, what about these claims that the trust is making that they didn't have to fix the handrails right away? And Mr. Farmer says, no, that is not acceptable. The building codes and safety codes require that those stairs have handrails at all times. Look, they had a few options. They didn't have to open up the property, but if they're going to allow people to walk onto that property, then those stairs require handrails, no exceptions. If they wanted to, if they wanted to take time to make arrangements to do a repair, at a minimum, they had to put up temporary handrails. And I'm like, well, temporary handrails, what would those consist of? And he sends me a photo, which you guys will actually see when Gene Farmer testifies. And he's like, oh, the temporary handrails would have been super cheap to make, and they could have made it in a few hours. And really, all they would have done is look like this. He's like, they could have done it relatively cheap, and it would have been up in an afternoon. And I asked him, like, do you think that these temporary handrails would have prevented what happened here? And Gene says, absolutely. Michelle only tripped because she couldn't balance herself when she was going down the damaged stairs. Furthermore, if the handrails were there, there's no way she would have been able to fall over the side. This absolutely was preventable. And as he's telling me this, I can't help but notice the fence.
Objection, improper argument, Judge.
Sustained.
As you see in the photos here, the fence that the trust chose to repair instead, right here, just a few feet away from the stairs. And, who knows why they chose to fix that instead of just buying the wood for the temporary handrails. Wow.
Objection, argument.
Sustained.
So I continued to ask Mr. Farmer, well, did the trust do anything else wrong? And he said,
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
so Gene Farmer is going to tell you that, yes, in addition to the handrails, they also should have never allowed people to walk on the stairs. And Gene Farmer will say, as you can see, a lot of the tile here and concrete took a lot of damage when the truck crashed into it. And as you see, a lot of the tile is loose. So these stairs were not safe to walk on at all, and no one should have been allowed to walk on these stairs. And Gene will even say, this was not a matter of if, it was only a matter of when, and unfortunately it happened to be Michelle, but if it wasn't Michelle, it would have been someone else. But trust isn't done there. They're also going to say, well, it's not our fault. It's her fault. Now that someone got hurt, it's her fault. And, they're going to say, well, now, we recognize that our building was in a bad neighborhood, and we had these gates in the back that we always kept locked and would never open them up. But still, this is Michelle's fault. Look, all she had to do was she had to go ask Dr. Beatrice Garcia for the keys, and she had to go out the back door and unlock this lock in the back. And then once you open that up, there's another gate cage there to keep people out. So she had to unlock that deadbolt. And then see, you got this chain here. She had to unlock that chain. And then once you get out that cage, you have to come around the building. And then you get to another gate that's locked. And hopefully the key is still on that same keychain, and she could have unlocked that. But you know what? Even if that key isn't on there, she's gonna jump the fence. I mean, it's not that.
Argument.
Sustained.
But you know what? Michelle didn't do any of that. So this is Michelle's fault. This is her fault. She knew the stairs were dangerous, and she continued to use them. So this is her fault. But the trust isn't done there. The trust is George is even going to blame her own daughter. George is going to say,
Objection, argument.
Sustained. Can I see you sidebar again?
so the evidence is going to show that the trust is going to say, no, this is Beatrice's fault. We were present at the scene the entire time. Beatrice is the one there. So this was on her to fix. It's not on us. This is on Beatrice. That's what the evidence is going to show. She's going to blame her own daughter. Finally, the trust is going to say, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, we should have had handrails, but you know what? Michelle fell and she got surgery and she almost made a full recovery, so it's not that big of a deal.
Objection, argument.
Sustained.
And so the trust went ahead and hired, speaking of this not big of a deal, they went ahead and they hired a doctor in 2016 to evaluate Michelle. And Dr. Sal Ramirez, who you're going to meet, and Dr. Ramirez evaluates her and determines, you know what, yeah, she has a permanent injury, it's a real serious injury, but she almost made a full recovery. That's what Dr. Sal Ramirez is going to say. And we'll get back to his opinion in a moment. But first, let's talk about what actually happened to Michelle. So Dr. Amaya determined they're going to have to perform emergency surgery the following day to save her leg. So what the surgery consists of is the first day they have to set her leg back in place. Once the bones are set, They then have to cut her knee open at the kneecap. Then they take a drill and they drill as wide of a hole as possible all the way down through her tibia, down to her ankle. Then they take a 13-inch rod and they begin to hammer the rod all the way in through her tibia, all the way down to her ankle. Then they drill 4 holes through the bone, through the rod, back out the other side of the bone, 2 in the top, 2 in the bottom. And then they take 4 screws, which interlocking screws, which lock in place, and they screw the screws in through the bone, through the rod, and back out the other side of the bone. This is what the actual x-ray looks like. Now, unfortunately, those 18 total days Michelle was in the hospital, 17 after her surgery, that was only the beginning of the nightmare that Michelle was about to find herself in. See, Michelle is a very independent person, and she really prides herself in not needing help from anyone. She raised her daughter by herself without the help from her father, and she prides herself in not needing anyone's help. But this extremely independent woman, overnight, found herself going from being independent, not needing anyone's help, to needing everyone's help. Because see, the surgery was so bad that she now was immobile and stuck in a wheelchair, unable to do the simplest things. Unable to go to the bathroom on her own, unable to get to the toilet on her own, unable to bathe on her own, unable to even make food on her own. And she almost needed full-time care around the clock. And which is tough for Michelle, losing all this independence and being completely immobile, just sitting in a wheelchair all day. But what was really tough for her was Michelle's daughter. See, Michelle's daughter, Natalie, was 15 at the time. And she wasn't living with Michelle, she was living with Michelle's parents because the school bus would only come to Michelle's parents' house. But Natalie, like a good daughter, because she has a really close relationship with Michelle, decided to, you know what, I'm going to step up to the plate and move back with my mom because my mom needs help. And this is a very adult role for a 15-year-old girl. And even though Natalie had the best intentions, she wasn't ready to take on something this big of being a full-time caretaker for her mom. And unfortunately, this injury started to have an effect on Natalie, and Natalie started to decline badly. And a wedge started driving between Michelle and Natalie. And Michelle realized that it was her in the wheelchair that was causing her daughter all the pain and all the misery, but Michelle was not able to do anything to fix the situation. She just had to sit in the wheelchair and endure it. That was the hardest part for Michelle. But, you know, eventually Michelle had to move in back with her parents, lost all of her independence because this got so bad she needed additional help. And she'll even tell you that first year of her life was the darkest time of her life. But, you know, the thing about Michelle, it was bad, and for a while it got really bad. But Michelle's a fighter, and this happened when she was 50, and she's like, you know what? Yeah, it was bad. What happened to me sucks. My leg's never going to be the same. But I'm still 50, and I have a lot of life left to live, and I am not going to let this keep me down. So you're going to hear about her rehabilitation. The first 8 months, she couldn't even get out of the wheelchair. Then slowly, she was able just to stand and sit back down. And it took her just even about a year to even be able to walk with the walker, but she stayed with it and was determined to learn how to walk with this 13-inch rod in her leg. And eventually, after even a few years, Dr. Amaya said, hey, you know what? I'm clearing you to go find a job again, what Michelle really wanted. So Michelle had a hard time finding a job because she can't do a lot of things that she used to be able to do. But eventually, she found a job at the Gap. And she tried her best, but after 3 months she had to quit because she just couldn't stand all day and she wasn't able to squat down to put the clothes down. So she had to quit the job at the Gap. However, she found another job with the City of Miami Police as a crossing guard and a school security guard. And you'll see when she testifies, she loves this job. Yes, it's a little bit hard because it's 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon, she has to walk a little bit. But this gives her a sense of purpose and meaning, a reason to wake up again every day. And she loves kids, to interact with kids again. But despite the fact that Michelle did her best to recover, the pain it never went away. So in 2014, she went ahead and saw Dr. Edward Lazarin, a board-certified orthopedic surgeon. And Dr. Lazarin told her, hey, Michelle, I know you don't want to get a second surgery because that first one was so bad, but you're probably going to have to get those 4 screws at some point taken out down the road. few years go by, Michelle continues to live her life, and, you know, after we get this report from this Dr. Sal Ramirez from the defense, we're like, whoa, what's he saying?
Objection, argument,
Sustained.
counsel's theories.
So
Sustained.
we go back to Dr. Lazarus, her doctor, and like, Dr. Lazarus, can you take another look at this? The defense doctor saying she's almost made a full recovery. Dr. Lazarus like, send her back to me, I'll look at everything. And
Objection,
Sustained.
Dr. Lazarus is going to...
Can I see you all in chambers for just a moment with the court reporter?
So Dr. Lazarin, who you're going to meet tomorrow, I believe, after Dr. Lazarin sees her in 2016, we speak with Dr. Lazarin. And the main three things from Dr. Lazarin's testimony, which evidence is going to show, Dr. Lazarin is going to say, no, you have to understand, an injury like Michelle had at her age, her leg will never be the same. She will never recover from something like that. 2, she's going to have the second procedure to take those screws out at some point. I know she doesn't want it, but she's going to have it because it's not going to get better. 3, even with that procedure, it's still not going to fix the problem. She's going to have pain at some point. She's still going to have pain for the rest of her life, and her legs she's never going to be able to do a lot of things like run, wear high heels, walk in sand. None of those things she'll ever be able to do. And a lot of the pain is because there's so much trauma-induced arthritis in her legs, so that's why she's going to have pain for the rest of her life. And Dr. Lazar will be here to tell you all this. At the end of this trial, the evidence will have established clearly and convincingly that the value of Michelle's injury in the years of her life that this cost her, not the price, the value, is $2.3 million. We look forward to giving you all the evidence. Thank you.
Good morning. The opening statement, which is what the attorneys are doing, is our opportunity to tell you, the jury, what we believe the evidence is going to be that you're going to hear from the witness stand right there. And I believe one witness is going to call in by telephone. So I want to thank you for your time. I want to talk about what we believe the evidence is going to show. I want to talk a little bit about our client. But before I begin, I have to address something. Mr. Baer, in his opening statement, painted a picture, tried to paint a portrait that the trust, who's my client, we'll talk about that in a second, didn't care, was frivolous, was uncaring, and couldn't care less about Micheline Chea. We believe the evidence is going to show, most admittedly, that that is not the way the trust viewed this matter. Let's talk about what the trust is. This is the trust. This is going to be in evidence. It's 8-9 pages. It's a legal creation, like a corporation. You can go on LegalZoom and incorporate. You don't need a lawyer to incorporate it. It's a trust. It sets forth that this property, which was owned before by Osvaldo Garcia and my client, Georgia Garcia, would be held in trust. And upon their death, certain things would happen. Just a bunch of paper. I want to talk to you a little bit about the evidence. I want to talk to you a little bit about the people that make up the trust. My clients, Osvaldo, I've never met Osvaldo. He died before this event happened and before this lawsuit was filed. And as we discussed earlier, Georgia, Beatrice's mom, is medically incapable of being here. And I, of course, did meet her. They left Cuba in 1967, fleeing communism. They came to this country with Beatrice, their daughter, and another.
Objection, Your Honor.
The evidence will be
Overruled.
that Osvaldo Garcia was a doctor, just like his daughter, Beatrice, is a doctor. The evidence will be that they bought this property, and for many years, Dr. Osvaldo Garcia operated his practice where this accident happened. This photo is a little fuzzy. The blow up, you loses a little bit of the pixels. We have a smaller version of that. But this is how the property looked, and you're going to get in evidence smaller photos. This is what the property looked like in 2011. The power of Google. You can go back in time and kind of figure out what things look like. And you'll see, and I apologize, I'll show you in closing a cleaner, tighter photo. But you can see this was the location where Dr. Beatriz Garcia ran her practice. Her practice was a small practice. It was an immigration practice. Folks that got to apply for immigration status have to get a medical examination. And as you can see, before this incident happened, steps with handrails on the side. Small property. It's at 867 Southwest 1st Street here in City, Miami, not far from this courthouse. And when I talk about the trust, I'm talking about Osvaldo and Georgia. It's really a family. We're talking about people. We're talking about a family. In this situation, you're going to hear about medical practice and the trust, and it's really Beatriz Garcia, daughter of my client, Georgia Garcia. Plaintiff's attorney made the argument characterizing my client as blaming their daughter. That is not the position of the trust. The position of the trust, and especially right now when you've heard no evidence, is to present to you what we reasonably believe you guys are going to be hearing in the next couple days from the witness stand. But I want to dispel that argument made by plaintiff's counsel that the trust didn't care about Ms. Chea and they didn't care about their daughter and blamed their daughter. The evidence is going to be that after Osvaldo Garcia got ill, Georgia, my client, stopped going around the office as often as she did. Of course there was intermingling. Of course Georgia would go visit her daughter who ran a medical practice where the husband used to run his medical practice. And the evidence is going to be that for years before, Georgia had stopped going by the office, but absolutely was made aware of this accident. Let's talk about that accident. The office. I showed you guys a photograph of the office. It had steps leading in, and that's where the plaintiff fell. But you're also going to hear evidence that it's not a real good picture. I'm going to try another one. Along the side is a handicap ramp. It's a little blurry, but there's a gate, and there's a handicap ramp, and there's a back entrance for folks that have a wheelchair or ladies taking a child on a stroller, etc. So I'm going to show you clearer photographs of this back entrance. I don't have the high-tech capabilities of Mr. Bear. This is a little bit better photograph, and this is going to be in evidence. The stairs are back there. So this physical building had two ways to enter and leave. Front steps, front door, whatever you want to call it. We lawyers will give different names to the same thing, or the back entrance, side entrance, handicap entrance, whatever you want to call it. The evidence is going to be that the plaintiff, Ms. Chea, had worked for Dr. Garcia for 3 years. The office was open 10 to 1. They would see about 20, 30 patients a week. So everything was fine until December 30th, 2011, when a car accident occurred and a lady named Nellie Ramos ran a stop sign, hit another car, and then smashed into the front of the property, of the building. Damaging the steps, whatever term we want to use, you guys can decide that. If there was damage, obviously, you can see a bunch of photos. And we're going to bring in, we anticipate to bring in the police officer from the city of Miami that investigated the accident, and the other driver, a gentleman by the name of Jose Garcia, who was the one that was hit by this other driver, Ramos. So the building was being kept in a fine, perfect condition until this accident. We didn't cause the accident. Ms. Chea didn't cause that accident. Beatrice Garcia didn't cause that accident. They wake up on December 31st, and we know that the plaintiff fell 15, 16, 17 days later. Plaintiff characterized the actions of the defendants. The defendants are, in this case, the trust, Dr. Garcia individually. She's been sued individually by the plaintiff. And also the medical practice of Dr. Garcia has been sued by Ms. Chea in this case. That they're going to characterize that nobody cared, that the trust, that Georgia Garcia didn't care. The evidence is going to show what we believe is that reasonable steps were taken. The court is going to instruct you at the end of the case, what do you do with all this energy and allegations and accusations and implications? What do you do with it? You apply common sense to the evidence and the law. You put them in a nice little brew and you stir them, and then this jury comes up with a ruling. The court's going to instruct you that the issue is negligence, not perfection, not hindsight. We're going to talk about that in closing. Wouldn't we all want 20/20 hindsight? I would have played at least 2 or 3 Powerballs. I'm not going to lie. We all would like to look back and say, man, I shouldn't have taken that bus. Man, I shouldn't have taken that course in school. But the evidence is going to be that the issue is, did folks act reasonably? We believe the evidence is going to show that the trust acted in a reasonable manner, because what happened after the impact? Oh, this is a, sorry, I blew them up, so I might as well use them. This is a side view of the back or side entrance. We can call it the side entrance. A gate. Of course, the gate was kept locked. It's a small operation. Dr. Garcia is running a medical practice, and folks are walking down the street. Nobody leaves the back door open 9 to 5 and say, well, what happened? So the evidence is going to be that after the impact, Dr. Garcia, after consulting her mom, my client, began a process of fixing things. They didn't just say, well, the tiles moved out. You saw Mr. Bear act out how Miss Chea maneuvered herself. Well, this is going to be representative of how it looked. And again, it's grainy. But Dr. Garcia is going to testify she cleared whatever rubble was there. If there was loose tile, she removed it. Now, granted, folks, this is a photo after the incident. The parties agree this is after the incident, but we thought it would be able to show you, the jury, an idea of what it may have looked like or did look like. 6 steps. The evidence is going to be that the steps themselves are about 6-7 feet wide. The evidence is going to be that day that already about 20 times Ms. Chea had walked up the steps and walked down the steps. On the day of the incident, the evidence is going to be that she thought it was so dangerous that, you know what she decided to do? Go get a cafecito across the street. She went for a coffee. That's her testimony. The evidence is going to be that she thought this was so dangerous that she decided to walk down while both Dr. Beatrice Garcia was standing on the steps and the pastor, the gentleman next door that had started these repairs, was also there. The testimony is going to be that, and Mr. Bear hit it square in the nose, so let me tell you what we believe the evidence is going to be. Mr. Bear told you in opening that that side entrance had a key, and their testimony is going to be that Miss Aline Chea asked Dr. Beatrice Garcia, please let me go out that side entrance, and that Dr. Beatrice Garcia refused to let her use the side. This is not closing argument. When I get an opportunity to speak to you all, the privilege of speaking to you in closing, I'm going to tell you what we believe the evidence showed you. But what you're going to hear from Dr. Beatrice Garcia is that is an absurd statement. The testimony from Dr. Beatrice Garcia, and you'll be able to judge her credibility. She's going to sit right there in that witness box. And you'll have to ask yourself, did this doctor tell Miss Chea, I refuse to let you use the side gate? The testimony is going to be that the side gate was used for patients, like I said already, with wheelchairs, moms with kids in strollers, grandmas with kids in strollers, folks using walkers. They use that. The testimony is going to be that Miss Chea, years before, when the towel was being installed, she would use the side gate. But yet, what they told you, and I believe, the testimony from Miss Chea is going to be is, Dr. Garcia didn't let me use that side entrance. I will let you as a jury, when we deliberate, determine why it's beneficial to them to make that argument. So the testimony from Dr. Garcia is going to be, there were two keys. She, the plaintiff, had one of the keys. It's a two-person operation. Ms. Chea and the doctor. The doctor saw the patients, Ms. Chea did the paperwork, appointments, stuff like that. She had access to the key, never asked for the key, never decided to go out the side, ever. Now, after the incident, both Dr. Garcia and Ms. Chea would call the patients and say, hey, we had an accident, just be careful, the side is available. They're both going to say that they warned the patients, told them, hey, just be careful, there's two ways to get in, and that's what the testimony is going to be. You're going to determine, we believe the evidence is going to show that Dr. Garcia is a very careful person, took appropriate steps, that the trust, through Georgia, communicating with their daughter, took appropriate steps to try and get this fixed. It was cleared, the patients were advised that they had options. Certainly, Ms. Chea, as much as anybody on earth, knew the condition of those steps. And Dr. Garcia will testify that no patients fell. Dr. Garcia will testify that she took steps to make that as clean as possible and give warnings if needed. We told you guys, they mentioned Mr. Farmer. We expect the testimony will be that Mr. Farmer, gentleman that they said is an architect, was hired in 2017, 5 years later. And the testimony will be that when I took his deposition last year, 2017, we switched over, he hadn't even gone to the scene. He hadn't even physically gone to the scene to measure, take photographs, and walk the place. He just went off of photographs that he saw. Medical testimony. We told you yesterday in jury selection, and Ms. Mesa asked you if you were chosen as a juror, would you rule in favor of the plaintiff just because she had a real injury? We talked about it. Nobody here is going to say this is a Mickey Mouse injury, soft tissue injury. We know that. Nobody wanted this to happen. We absolutely understand this is a real injury. What Dr. Ramirez is going to testify is a couple things that do differ. Number one, he's going to say excellent surgery by Dr. Amaya. Got no problems there. Dr. Ramirez is going to say real injury. X-rays show what they show. It's kind of hard to argue. No one's arguing that. Where does Dr. Ramirez differ? Dr. Ramirez is going to testify that she does not need future surgery. He's going to testify that those screws are put in specifically to last basically forever. So there's going to be a difference there as to what she needs in the future. And in terms of the medical testimony, I don't think there's going to be a lot of debate. Frankly, folks, we believe the evidence in this case is not going to be that different from plaintiff to myself to Mr. Evia. Everybody admits the evidence will be the stairs were in fine condition before, we didn't cause the accident, a car accident damaged it, 16, 17 days elapsed, plaintiff knew about the condition, plaintiff walked up and down, plaintiff decided that day to go get coffee. There's a back entrance with keys that were available to her. And she had a real injury. Do we differ on some of the facts? Yeah. Does she need future surgery is an issue? But the biggest issue, which is not a determination made by any expert or lawyer, it's going to be made by this jury. Were we negligent? Was the plaintiff negligent? We'll discuss all that when we close the case. But we feel confident that when all the evidence is heard, that this jury will rule in favor of the trust, that there was no negligence in this situation. I thank you for your time.
Members of the jury, there really isn't much that I can add about the facts of the case. But I'm here because I speak for Dr. Beatrice Garcia. And I'm going to show you to make sure that you can see her. This is going to be very embarrassing for her. Dr. Garcia, please stand up. It's a long way from you. I am not going to make her walk over there, although I thought of it. She's going to stop right here. This is Dr. Garcia. This is why I'm here. Thank you very much. You can sit down. Let me tell you something. Dr. Garcia does not have a legal opinion on this matter. The place that I'm sitting, behind a pillar, in between her employee and friend, certainly before this, Micheline Chea, and the trust run by her mother, is the appropriate spot. She doesn't have an opinion on liability. She doesn't have an opinion on damage. That's my job. And that's what I mean when I say that I speak for her. And the question that Dr. Garcia has for you, through me, her attorney, Anthony Heavy, is why is she here? She didn't cause the damage to the stairs. She doesn't own the stairs. And my legal position on her behalf is that she's not the party responsible for making the repairs. Those are the three things I want you to think about Dr. Garcia and Dr. Garcia's medical practice throughout this case. She didn't cause the damage to the stairs. She didn't own the stairs. And my legal position on her behalf, she may not like it, because guess what? That means what am I saying about her mom, right? But I don't believe that she had the legal responsibility to make the repairs to the stairs. And if you agree with that at the end of this case, we're just asking you to let her go. I do not mean to belittle at all what Ms. Chea has gone through. We don't even dispute it. And certainly Dr. Garcia doesn't have anything to say about Ms. Chea's damages. But Dr. Garcia has been going through this since 2012 as well. And we're just asking you to finally, please, once you review the case, let her go if you agree with those 3 points. The kind of medical practice she had is the only fact that I think hasn't come out. And basically what she did was immigration physicals. When people apply for immigration, they have to have physicals done by a doctor, and that's what Dr. Garcia did. Now there's one other aspect of her life that as her lawyer, I have to tell you about, and the evidence is going to demonstrate this. Unlike some people you may meet born in 1948, Dr. Garcia still listens to her mother and does exactly what her mother says. It's not the case for everybody. It's not the way my children have chosen to live their life so far, and they're only 7 years old, the oldest. But she listens to her mom. In that family, Georgia Garcia was the businesswoman. Osvaldo was the doctor, and his daughter was the doctor. That's the only other thing I want you to pay attention to as you listen to the evidence. We thank you very much for the time that we're going to ask from you, for the next couple of days. But please, think about the evidence. Did she cause the damage to the stairs? Did she own the exterior stairs? And legally, this is your decision, frankly. You know it's a legal decision. Was she the party responsible for making repairs? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.